Hey there guys, it's Metro, and tonight we're taking a look at the Blood Death Knife point of view from Vault of the Wardens. I think this is the first time I've done a Vault of the Wardens in this series, actually. Maybe not, but it's definitely the first time I've done Blood Death Knife, which is actually insane, honestly. So there's going to be a couple videos on these guys before we hit the live servers, but it's they're feeling a little bit unkillable, honestly. In the beta, or in the alpha, I tested them a lot. I think I made a video here talking about them, quite a few videos actually. And they felt just way overtuned at the time. The way things used to work was all their heals just healed for a lot more, honestly. But their rotation was really thin. Like, their damage was really bad, but their healing was just absolutely utterly broken. And now, as you can see, AoE is once again their godsend. But really, all tanks do AoE. Honestly, at this point, I think I do almost as much damage on all tanks as I do on this character. So, but he's pretty undergeared comparatively. Like, I don't think I would do less damage on this character than I did on my monk, and my monk is 840. So if this character was also 840, I think he's about 815 at the time of recording this. Yeah, it seems a bit crazy, honestly. I don't know. I'll have to see it in proper testing, but I just feel like I can do things that kind of break the rules a little bit, and I'll tell you why. Because there's this, so basically your AoE, which is, through Blood Boil, and then of course Blood Plague getting applied through Blood Boil now, instead of how it used to be, where you have to apply the diseases and then Blood Plague spreads it. Now there's only one disease, and it just comes through Blood Boil. So that disease actually siphons health. So it's like a small hot. And then Vampiric Embrace is a golden talent, golden trait, whatever you call it, that I've taken that as much damage as Blood Plague does. That adds an absorb to the end of the vampiric blood. Okay, so, and then there's also a trait where you can have a third weapon out with Dancing Rune Weapon. So that means you'd have 3 Blood Plagues. And, we're like right there, I pull like, at least 20 mobs probably. So I would have 3 Blood Plagues ticking. And then, I'm assuming all 3 of those count towards the shield at the end of Vampiric Blood. But and then Vampiric Blood on top of that is only a 1.5 minute CD. And then there's a talent to reduce it even further. Like, every time you spend Runic Power, you reduce the CD on it, I think is how it works. So yeah, I feel a little bit unkillable. And then that's not even using their artifact ability, which I still like. I don't even use because I want to try to save it for like those crazy oh shit moments. But basically it does damage in a frontal cone, I guess is how it works. Like, it's hard to tell because it doesn't actually have an animation, but it says in a frontal cone in front of you, and then as much damage as that deals, that also heals you. And it does a decent amount of damage. It wouldn't really be a lot of damage on a single target, but the thing about it is, you can get all these mobs stacked up in front of you, and then you use that, and it's a lay on hands. It basically is, it's a full heal if you're fighting like more than 6 mobs. And I don't know, I guess this is going to go up with attack power and stuff like that, so there's a lot of insane synergy. Like, there's also a talent for the more bone shield charges you have, the more health you have, basically. Just kind of like the old days with, I don't know, whatever like that thing was going on with Runic, man, I can't remember the names, but yeah, there used to be ways to increase your health in WAD DK as well. So yeah, this spec is just utterly broken. It feels like I can do anything I want in this game, and it's already up to par when I'm only 815. But I'm definitely going to try to get into mythics, so we'll try to get a good representative dungeon there. The reason I'm showing you this one is because we have a pretty interesting kind of an eclectic group. We have a Demonology Warlock, which I think is the first time I've seen one of those, and a Ret Paladin, which is pretty rare as well. So this will be a good one to take a look at for you guys looking to see damage. Unfortunately, we're getting to the point now where people are just massively overgearing these. Like, when I started this series, I was geared as well as anyone else in the groups, but now people are coming into these with like 850 item level, sometimes. So it's hard to find real representative groups, and this one is probably a little bit overgeared too. The Fury Warrior is doing a lot of damage. I'm taking a look at the Warlock there. He's pretty geared too, but that demo just seems a little bit weak. So I don't know. That'll be up to you guys. But what I do want to talk about here today is kind of just blood in the state of the game that it is in now. and why I think I'm probably going to just end up going blood again. I had this discussion with somebody on the channel in the comments the other day, so I'll try to clarify this as well. So the way things work for me is I love tanking 5-mans, right? I raid as a Holy Paladin. Now that's my main, all right? I will be playing Holy Paladin no matter what. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Even if it's the worst spec in the video game, I will still be playing it. I've never not played it in a raid, and I will continue to do so. But in 5-mans, I like to have a dedicated alt, because even though now I guess this is probably the least important time for this, but especially in last expansion, it was good to have a dedicated alt, because Paladin tank was not something I could do CMs with. It required a very specific set of gear as well, so I need that. And you know, obviously Death Knight was just simply better, so that's why I went with that. So last expansion I played Blood Death Knight exclusively. The previous expansion I did MOP CMs with a Brewmaster for the most part. Then I tried them as Blood. I did them 8 of 8 or 9 of 9, whatever it was, 9 of 9 as Blood. I didn't enjoy it very much. Then I did my Paladin, my Warrior. So yeah, that was that. We did the CM boost as a Monk, and then some as Paladin, but I never really played Death Knight, especially in MOP. I just simply didn't enjoy the playstyle, and I didn't really want to play it. Like, I didn't really want to. And then in WoD, I remember I was like, oh, I had really good hope for Prot Warrior, but it just blew up in my face. And then I was like, all right, yeah, so Brewmaster it is probably. I'll try Brewmaster or Paladin tank for CMs. They seemed to both really have good kits at the time. Paladin especially had very good AoE, very, very good AoE, but I didn't realize how big utility was going to be that last expansion, considering after MOP, you know, MOP was basically just bring a monk because they're crazy good. There was no like dark sim needs, there was no crazy dark like AoE grip needs, all that stuff was not needed. At least not mandatory for a lot of reasons. But then in WoD, for some reason, I guess they just made dungeons a little bit harder, more casters, stuff like that, more dark simmable abilities, more reflectable abilities. So this type of utility became very mandatory, especially in your DPS slots, but tank slot as well, because you can put out a lot of damage with these types of things. So, you know, early on, it was like, I was trying to do challenge modes, and people were like, nah, must be Blood DK. I was like, okay, because I'm fucking leveling a Blood DK. So I leveled it up. It was 100, however long it took me. Got a full set of gear and never looked back. Blood DK was the way forward. It was crazy. It was nerfed there for a little bit in the middle of the expansion, but then it was buffed again towards the end. It was really strong in the beginning. Blood Boil was just out of control. But now we're kind of at that crossroads again. I don't know what's going to be good. I assume there is going to be some type of meta here where people say, oh yeah, Mythic plus 15 can only be done with this type of tank. Or maybe it's greatly preferred to have this type of tank. But of course, since it is just a dungeon now, there's no crazy skips, or the mob counts are much more lenient. You have to pull a lot more mobs. Maybe it's not going to be that way as much, but I expect it to be, there to be a meta to it. Like I was thinking Demon Hunter first because of how much mobility they had. I enjoyed Demon Hunter, but I really like Monk. Okay, so this is the point. After 10 minutes of rambling, finally get to the point here. Yeah, I really like Monk, and if it was up to me, Monk would be my main alt, because I love the class fantasy behind it. I love the Wandering Isle. It's definitely my favorite place in the entire video game, but unfortunately, Monk feels it just doesn't seem to have the tools that you would expect a tank to have for 5-man situations. Basically has a stun, and that's about it. It doesn't even have a real easy way to pick ranged mobs up. Has some mobility, but now all the tanks have equal mobility. In fact, some are better than others, but even Death Knight has some incredible mobility now. So it kind of just comes down to, what has the edge. And after playing, Blood DK, I leveled it up on stream, and we did some dungeons and all this stuff. I've been doing heroics now. It just feels unkillable, honestly, man. Like, it feels even better than it was in WoD. It does a little bit less damage than it did in WoD. I used to be able to do like a lot more damage compared to the group, but I think a lot of that was because of pre-potting armor. Like, the way armor pots used to work was obviously different than it is in Legion. So I think the Blood DK, I think all tank threshold damage is going to be pretty capped out quickly. Like, if you know how to use your CDs properly, you'll be doing your max damage. There's not really going to be a lot left to pontificate on there, really. Maybe stat-wise, I think, we're really going to see a lot of statistical relevance, especially with haste. The more blood boils you do, the more damage you do. But that's probably one of the only exceptions, really, because haste does not. It affects the rune CD recharge, which is good, but that's not necessarily a DPS boost or a survivability boost for a lot of reasons. Whereas, you know, like Monk and Paladin, they have they have insane damage boost from haste, and then of course insane reduction, especially Paladin. They probably have the best. So yeah, I'm not really sure where it's gonna go, but as of right now, based on what I've seen, it's just crazy. I mean, you're wearing plate and you could heal yourself more than healers. I wish I showed the healing a little bit more in these dungeons. It would probably be a good example to do that, but that's kind of not the focus. I want you guys to be able to see what classes are doing as well in these. Now, the reason I bring that up though is because I've done 5-mans where I do more healing than the healer throughout the entire dungeon, and I don't think that's even the healer's fault at this point. Like, I have a full health heal, guys. I have like a 45-second CD full health heal, and then I have a CD which puts in a giant absorb on me, basically. So like these two things add up to a lot, and then of course, you know, rotational heals too. You know, like just random heals. You know, from Death Strike, and of course the Blood Plague is pretty good. And I used to take the Blood Worms, but I never need them because I'm never below 50% health, so there's no reason to take that, at least in the 5-mans I'm doing. So I'm looking forward to getting into some mythics and seeing how far I can push the limits, because it is a really, they are really good, man. They really feel strong. I think if you're interested in this playstyle, you're going to really like them. I think, like I said, I think it's going to be a little bit different now. I think you'll be able to probably play any tank for 5-man progression. Like, you know, if you want to be super serious, top world times in these new CM, the Mythic Pluses now, I think you'll just, you know, whatever you have the best gear on, because, you know, gear goes a long way. Excuse me. Gear goes a long way, but I really do think there's going to be some tanks that can just edge it out. Like, for example, I feel like Brewmaster needs more gear than DK, and that's just how it feels. You know, I've done everything in the game now in terms of, I've done, you know, +6 on Brewmaster. It's as high as I've gone, and it feels really tight, honestly. Like, I feel really endangered, but I have a feeling based on, you know, how the Monk kit plays against the Blood DK kit, that in that exact same situation as the Blood DK, I would not be endangered whatsoever, just because, first of all, how useful Vampiric Embrace is. It's such a short CD, guys. It's insane. I think they're also the only tank without a really long CD. Like, Rune Weapon is a 3-minute CD now, up from 1 minute, or 1.5 minute actually, but it's kind of still the same. So it's kind of like a big offensive usage, but it can be defensive. You know, you're going to use it on the pole if anything that matters. So it allows you to do a lot of damage, obviously, too. So I guess you kind of have to play that a little bit differently. You can't use it how you used to be able to use it, where it was just, yep, is Scabbard in it? Up? Yeah, all right, cool, top the charts. Now you actually have to play it like it's a defensive sometimes. So you'll probably try to rotate that. I mean, you get 2 Vampiric Bloods for every 1 usage of that. And then, of course, there is still your Artifact Weapon, which is, like I said, it's basically a full heal if you're attacking multiple mobs. Now, the big issue I have here is single target healing. I know they're going to be good in raids. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, because the more damage you take, the more your healing does. But in this kind of like low chip damage, I feel like we're almost in the same position we are with Monk. I feel like I don't have any real way to heal myself up, because the artifact is, it doesn't do very much damage on its own against a single mob. And since there's only 1 Blood Plague, it does even less healing. And then, of course, the Death Strike, you know, the less damage you take, the less healing it does. So I feel like I do rely a lot on healers in these 5-mans, especially for dungeon. Well, definitely only for bosses. AoE I could solo this whole place with easily. I'm saying that right now. I might try it as well at some point. If I can get geared enough, I think I'm going to try to solo one of these dungeons. But either way, the point is that, they still have their checks and balances. I'm sure there's going to be a major check coming out at some point here in terms of, you know, where they're at in the meta, quote unquote. But I feel like they're, you know, and then the third part of that conversation is their utility. They still have it, guys. They still have Gorfiend's Grasp. They don't have Dark Sim anymore, but Gorfiend's Grasp is still, you know, as good as it ever was. And Death Grip alone is really, really, really good in 5-mans. Like, it is such a DPS increase. It's the only, I think it's the only utility in the game that's a DPS increase, right? Because it drags a mob closer so people can cleave. You know, you're already AoEing, see one of those spiders run away, guess what? Just grip them all back together. Now that's another like 4 or 5 seconds, 4 or 5, at least 5, 6 globals, where everything's grouped up. So it's really a great luxury. So, and I think that's going to be why, you know, people just really not only expected but demanded, because it's just something that nobody else brings, you know. So it's really that level of importance that is why Blood DK was so good in WoD. But this is a great example right here, what I'm going to show you guys. I cut a bit out there, but the healer's gone. I don't know where he is. I think he's AFK. He says he DCs. I don't know. He doesn't actually go offline for me. I don't know what's going on. But either way, so yeah, we do this last boss without a healer. Now, of course, this is a 5-man heroic. Nothing too difficult, but I don't know. I think this puts it in perspective. Blood DK is really the perfect mix. They have some really great passive defensives with a Bone Shield. It's even a DPS increase there. They have 3 really strong CDs. Like, in my opinion, the 3 CDs Blood DK have are probably the best 3 CDs in the video game, and Blood DK has them all. And then, of course, they have a very high damage output as well. So these guys are pretty geared. You're going to see, you know, like I said, the Ret and Demo. I don't know much about Demo. I know Affliction's good, but Ret's looking pretty good. I don't have one of his blessings, but I think I like Ret as well. Ret looks pretty cool. The damage isn't bad either. I've seen some really good Rets. So for those of you, a lot of people seem worried about Ret. I'm not really sure why. I haven't seen anything to make me think that they're going to be really bad. Honestly, I don't know what the worry is there. But yeah, if you're looking forward to Ret, you can probably continue to look forward to it. But yeah, so here you go. I'm going to start the fight, get hit really hard, but I don't feel like I'm ever in danger. Honestly, as soon as I pull, I feel like I probably just I just zone it out. I don't even remember that we don't have a healer, and I'm just playing the same way. I don't feel frantic. I don't feel like if I did this at 8, whatever, 15 on any other of the tanks I have, you know, especially Monk or Paladin, it's like I feel like I would be in danger because you don't have self-healing, right? So like what I try to say here is that if you could mitigate, say you take 1,000 damage, you can mitigate 50% of that. So instead you take 500 damage, or as a Blood DK, you can just take the 1,000 and then heal that 1,000 back up with Death Strike, right? That's basically where we're at here. Mitigate half of it as a Paladin, and then rely on the healer to heal you back up, or mitigate all of it as a Death Knight, essentially, because you just heal it up yourself. And that is the kind of thing that really opens the door for 5-man progression, because you allow the healer to do a lot more damage, you allow yourself to be a lot less vulnerable. You don't have to rely on the healer as much as you think you do. But yeah, with low damage, you know, when you're not taking a very big hit, it's sometimes difficult to stay topped off as a Death Knight. But in general, I think they have the perfect balance in their kit. It's just really strong because plate goes a long way, again, with armor, the way it works. And then, of course, you know, just the damage they do and the healing they do is just insane. So that's pretty much everything I have here, guys. I am going to be going on vacation for about a week. I have another video or 2 planned in that time, but after this video goes live, you probably won't see much from me for a couple days at least, if not a week. Hopefully Siler's on his way back. He can get some videos out for you guys, get some more stuff going on the channel. But I've really enjoyed these videos, guys. I feel like they're a really great outlet to discuss a lot of the things that are on my mind. I'm glad that it seems like you guys are enjoying them too. There's a lot to talk about in terms of the tanking and healing changes, and a lot of people don't seem to understand them. So I really encourage you guys, if you have any questions whatsoever, to just ask. I will happily answer anything. It's so nice to have people to interact with for once. So I appreciate you guys all, and I hope you have had a good holiday, depending on when you're watching this, and hope you're looking forward to Legion, because I really do feel like it's going to be the best expansion the game has ever had. But yeah, we'll see you guys in the next video.